Hey guys, coming up is a celebration of Polite Conversations podcast reaching 50 episodes, not counting the panel discussions, and also a celebration of the patrons that make it possible. If you're a patron and you couldn't make it, don't worry, I'm sure we'll have more chats like these. I always announce these things on Patreon, so keep an eye out. Anyway, people listening right now, please keep in mind this conversation is from about a week and a half ago with my limited resources, and with podcasting not being my full-time job and all, I can't push out these conversations as quickly as I'd like. If you enjoy the show and want to help it get to a point where episodes are quicker and more frequent, please consider supporting the show via Patreon. Without listeners like you, it isn't possible. And by supporting the show, you get various rewards and perks like participating in patron chats, AMAs, and generally pissing off intellectual dark web fans. Anyway, I'd like to give a special shout out and thanks to all my patrons and specifically the lovely people who participated in this chat. Give them a follow. Shout out to at Natalia's Dad, at Vlad Alexandrov 5, at Pernickety, at Thomas Swords, at Fabio Favis Maxim, and at Gerbivore. Thank you guys so much for participating in this patron chat. Anyway, there are people coming in and out of the conversation, so don't worry if you can't keep track of who's who and who's saying what. Just enjoy the topics of conversation. And here's to 50 episodes of the podcast. Enjoy.
Make sure that that program doesn't contain controversial subjects and you're not impolite to people.
No, definitely not, Dad. You know me. I'm never, ever controversial or impolite.
Yeah. Okay.
Welcome to Conversations with your lovable, never pisses anyone off, ex-Muslim host Aina, keeping it non-controversial. Hello guys, and welcome to the 50th episode Patron Chat. How are you guys doing? I've got Martin and Vladimir on with me.
Hello.
Yeah, hello, pretty good.
Great. So how are you guys feeling about this Alex Jones thing?
Glorious.
Yeah, actually, yeah. It was a good news of the day. It's like most of the time you just read stuff and it's just depressing. But that day, actually, yeah, it was pretty good.
Oh, you enemies of free speech.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm really enjoying. There was a take by one of his supporters where they're trying to argue that Facebook is not a private company because it's publicly traded.
Yeah, I saw that too. That's one of the most absurd takes.
Desperation, yeah. Peter Norway's on the case with this one. I think he's been tweeting all about it all day.
Yeah. And the person doubled down too, apparently.
So as I understand, he's completely off YouTube, right? I mean, I haven't checked, I haven't confirmed it, but that's what happened, right? His channel is completely off.
Yeah, YouTube and all of the podcasting platforms, Apple and Spotify, and I think Stitcher have taken him off.
Not Twitter, though.
No, not Twitter. Yeah, I just read recently, I think today, from Jack. He's giving some bullshit excuse. Sorry, we can't curse right on your podcast.
No, of course you can.
We fucking can.
Come on, you don't listen enough to know that there's lots of cursing.
No, I know.
I just bleep
saw
out the
another
word
tweet
polite.
today.
Sorry, go on.
Polite in quotes. I saw another tweet today. Let me just pull it up here. Yeah, the night we found out children were being kept in cages, Jack went to a GOP fundraiser. The day after refusing to ban Alex Jones, he's going on Hannity. And there was a tweet from Seth Rogen who had been DMing him, and he just basically said the guy doesn't give a shit.
Hey, Michaela, are you here?
Hi, I'm here.
Awesome. Nice to meet you, Michaela. We have a third person joining us. We were just talking about Alex Jones being banned
always a lovely topic.
Oh, you're another enemy of free speech, I take it?
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, Jack is really interesting. Have you checked out Jack's follows? Like, he follows, like, Cernovich, and he apologized. Yeah, his follows are quite disturbing. And he apologized to Candace Owens when Twitter Moments called her far right, I mean, which she absolutely is. He personally took the time to say, I'm sorry that we did that. And it's so weird.
I mean, it shouldn't even be like a big issue, right? It's just if someone harasses, like if you own a store or something, or someone comes in and start like harassing your guest, you're free to just kick him out the second, right? You're just gonna call the cops and just like that's it.
Yeah.
Like if someone uses your company, your platform to harass and threaten people, and it's. I don't know why it took so long. That's my question. Like for YouTube, that was pretty obvious like years ago. That's
and they said he was like on his last strike.
People actually been hurt and suffering. Yeah,
it's the same idea. If you write to a newspaper, they don't have to publish your letter.
No, they must, or else they hate free speech.
And he has free speech. He can go outside and just yell his nonsense, right? It's like no one's gonna stop him. Like
which he has done.
Yeah,
he's done. Yeah, and he went after actually people and ran after. It's just he's either like a great actor or just complete lunatic or both. I don't know.
A bit of both, I think. Yeah.
A grifter, yeah.
And he's making money out of it, like by selling his garbage on
Yeah. So what are you thinking, Michaela? What are your thoughts on Jack and YouTube and?
Oh, it's so frustrating because it's so obviously a money thing. It's so like, obviously like Alex Jones gets away with it because he makes a lot of money for YouTube and Twitter and everything else.
Yeah.
So it's like different rules for different people. I mean, I get it. Like it's, it's money and their companies need to make money, but it's just that they get away with it is so frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, just how they pretend that they're just neutral on it. It's not true. Yeah. I think they're just trying to do the best for themselves, and they shouldn't lie to other people, right? Like getting rid of all these far-right Nazi types and Alex Jones types would probably mean a sharp drop in people using Twitter or a sharp drop in controversies that generate interest in Twitter. So that's probably why.
And Trump himself has violated the terms of service of Twitter so many times, but they're never going to kick him off.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And did you see that was it Twitter support or something that tweeted about... They just openly said that, sometimes people will tweet bigotry or whatever. Like, it was strange to see them be so open about
and it's up to everyone else to push back on it.
Yeah.
Come on.
Weird times we're living in.
Yeah, and another thing frustrating is there's some people like I think it was one of the Jimmy Dore or one of them that they just use this kind of they sort of defended
whatever.
All of a sudden he's for free speech and like they use the slippery slope like it will be I think it was Kulinski actually who said like the politicians will use that to actually to silence any narrative that's against them or like completely like there's no slippery slope. Like it's just not. Politicians will do that. Like Trump does it. I mean, he silences. He actually ejects some of the reporters, right? That actually asks him ask him tough questions. He does it, right?
Yep.
I mean, but that has nothing to do with like YouTube doing that to Alex. Like I don't get the comparison at all. I mean, why are they doing this?
Yeah, I mean, I was disappointed to see that Kyle was taking that stance. Not that I'm a huge fan of his or anything, but still, I didn't think he'd be like, oh, don't silence InfoWars.
Yeah, and on this issue, like he's been pretty tough to Alex Jones overall. I know he does kind of silly segments about like, well, let's take down his video. Like there's nothing to take down. It's complete nonsense from start to finish. Like yes, you can fill your episode, your segment, I guess, with dissecting Alex Jones, but it's like he doesn't need to be dissected. He needs to be like kind of ignored, laughed at, and just that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, what is there really to dissect about, Obama and Hillary are demons and flies land on them, frogs are gay, and they put baby parts
I want to know the
coke.
truth about the gay frogs. on that, I'm going to give him a pass.
I mean, there was a time when all this just seemed kind of funny, right? But now I can't see it as that anymore. It's getting so troubling, and so many people are buying into it, and it's just getting scarier and scarier.
It was the Sandy Hook business, I think, that really pushed him over the edge. I think it was because that's coming up. He's pushing back and trying to sue them, and there's some guy who's trying to make all the addresses of the parents public.
Yeah.
Just now, I think.
What? Oh my God.
Yeah, I think it was Alex Jones's lawyer who's pushing to make the addresses of the
That's right, yeah.
The children's parents public, and it's despicable. I don't know how you can argue for that.
Yeah, because gay frogs is one thing, but
exactly. I mean, I tweeted, I think it was the day before yesterday, that I wonder if classical liberals will come to the defense of InfoWars, and it's kind of like, yeah, I can see it happening, but would they really? And sure enough, there's a lot of them coming in defense of Alex. I don't like Alex Jones at all, but
it always starts with I don't agree with him, but it's a sleeper. It's come on.
That's the Peterson fan tactic as well. You always pretend like you're not a fan, and then you argue in his favor.
And just being reasonable.
Yeah, just neutral. Both sides are bad. The sides that think there are no gay frogs and baby body parts in Pepsi, and also the side that thinks there are.
Can we just come together and agree that the frogs might be bisexual?
Whatever they want to be. Yeah, I mean...
I remember a time when InfoWars were so fringe, but now this whole just basic so much attacking going on anything factual, right? And it's just becoming a big chunk of this country specifically, right? It's just big part of it. Actually, it's similar. I can make comparison to what's happening in Russia last 4 years. It's been media has been biased and kind of bad. But last 4 or 5 years, it's 80% of the country right now, you cannot have a normal conversation about anything. It's the whole reality is just shifted, right? Just any subject, it just would be backwards, basically. It would be similar it's someone who's been listening to InfoWars for 4 or 5 years. Imagine having conversation with him about anything. It would be
oh yeah. I have an acquaintance.
It's happening,
who used to do a lot of coke in university. I'm not good friends with him, but we've seen him deteriorate, from the time we were in college, and now he's a full-on hardcore InfoWars conspiracy fan, and he thought the Boston bombings was a hoax. They were crisis actors, and he posted all these pictures with red circles and shit. And it's what? And now you see him posting racist shit from Milo and stuff. How does that? Why does being a conspiracist also have to mean that you're a sexist, racist bigot?
There's a curious overlap.
Yeah. I mean, there was a time that conspiracy theorists were just I don't know, people believed in aliens, and the government was trying to hide the aliens from you, and just weird stuff like that, right? But now it's why does it overlap with white nationalism?
Yeah, times have changed. I was once probably for a year, back in 2002, I believed in the whole 9/11 thing, and how it was Bush administration, and then you see how they lied during the UN about the some of the the chemical weapons and stuff. So you start making connection. But then after a year, you read more, you just realize, and then kind of read some more, and it's just bullshit. You just believe in some nonsense.
Yeah.
But now it's getting kind of completely, it's just enveloped the whole different many areas of just garbage. Area.
Yeah.
Also, weirdly, like the quality of, I don't know whether you can say quality, but like in conspiracy theories used to be like the government is hiding, I don't know, aliens, or the government is, the government did 9/11. But now it's like Sandy Hook parents are pretending that their child is dead, so we have to like, I don't know, send them death threats. Like, it's really strange. Like, it used to be like the government against you, but now it's like people against each other and like really victimizing just normal people who lost a child.
Yeah.
And I don't know how, like, where that switch went. Like, even with 9/11, it's like nobody is, calling up the families of victims of people who died on 9/11 to like send them death threats. But I don't know.
Hello?
Hi, Thomas Swords here.
Hi, Thomas.
Hi, Thomas.
Hello.
Hi.
Some of you guys know each other, I believe.
Yeah.
Michaela, just you and me are the only ladies, I think, at all tonight.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. I'm like...
Well, there were no ladies except for you last time, so...
That's
Michaela's
true.
one more.
Yay!
Yay, equality.
Hey.
Do you get about 50% of your supporters are women, or what's
No. That's why I get so happy when like I get a woman patron. I'm like, yes. I don't know why it is. Like, is there something very masculine about the content that I'm putting out? Or
I'm really surprised.
It's your voice.
it's my
I don't know.
That Valley Girl accent.
Pardon?
Your Valley Girl accent.
No, Martin, you're gonna have to speak slower. I did not understand that. Did you say Valley Girl accent?
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. Martin's referring to a very rude YouTube comment that I got one time about my voice. And, yeah. Was it you, Martin?
Was it who made the comment?
Yeah. No.
Oh, I rumbled. You got me.
I mean, you never hear comments about, like, male podcast hosts'
No, of course
voices, right? Like, oh my God, what's wrong with his voice? But I get a lot of comments about my voice.
And you should smile when we're on your podcast.
That's right, yeah. I'll keep that in mind.
So did Michael Brooks ever do an impression of you? That's what I want to hear.
No, he didn't actually.
I've never heard him do a female impression.
Yeah, you should ask him. Next time we
Just
chat.
which is close.
Just remember, his impressions are a few people pretty good. Yeah, I think he was Get Sad. That's one of them, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was surprised at the support I got at the Michael Brooks episode that I did. I did not. I expected a lot more pushback from the IDW fan crowd.
Do you have a lot of IDW support?
No. They've let, like,
not.
especially not anymore, because I mean there was a time, right? There was a time where people are they hear me being even a little bit critical about Islam or something. They heard that I'm an ex-Muslim woman from Saudi Arabia, and that's kind of the picture that they have of me, even though that's not who I am at all. And then they get mad at me when I say something about Sam Harris, and then they unpledge. So it's like, I mean, I used to be a Sam Harris fan. I was there for the criticism of religion. I'm not there for the popularizing of Jordan Peterson and this crazy Jeffrey Miller dude and whoever else Sam is hanging out with these days, Ben Shapiro, and it's, yeah. So
it's pretty. I don't know. It's kind of not very surprising, I guess, but kind of, it's this little bit kind of disappointing because he just, he could have so many really nice conversations with so many different people, and sometimes he still does. But I feel like that stuff is like now he's like 80-90% of his time. Like, let's have a chat with Peterson and Douglas Murray in 10 different cities.
Yeah. Why is it always
thing? Why? Like, it's
always the same lineup, the same topics, and yeah. I'm just gonna add a couple more people.
I gotta run, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. Thanks for joining us, Martin. So,
good night.
Bye.
Good night.
See ya. Oh, I was asking Vladimir if he was still listening to Sam Harris. I'm impressed.
Oh, yeah. I don't know about
tolerate it.
I've given up on Sam a lot.
Yeah, I listen once in a while. It depends on the guest, but once in a while, if like for example, Masha Gessen was recently that episode I listened, and she actually brought up a good point that actually also I think Matt Delahanty brought about the threat of Islam and versus Christianity in the United States, and she just like Matt said, you know, the impact on Islam here is basically. You know, it's just not very relevant compared to the impact of Christianity, right? It's and you're making it sound, you make it sound as basically, you know, the Islam in Europe is one thing. Here, it's different demographics and different threat, and Christianity just has so much more money, so much more influence in general. And,
it's a great point.
We have, I think, two more people joining us.
In Pakistan.
Do we have Jeremiah and Fabio?
Yes, it's Jeremiah.
Are you here, Fabio?
Video.
No. Oh, well, Fabio probably is, but not me.
But you're not Fabio.
No.
No. Hi, Jeremiah. How's it going?
Hi. It's going well.
We were just talking about Sam Harris and how things have changed, like how some of us were fans for the criticism of religion, and now there's a lot of conversations that are concerning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He was never one of my favorite horsemen. Like I liked his thoughts on free will and determinism and stuff, and actually the moral landscape was actually fairly important in my development of my moral system. Now I know there's problems with it, but I'm still like a determinist who doesn't believe in free will and a moral realist. So it's kind of disappointing.
Do we have Fabio?
I never had that.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So
I never had that hero worship.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sam has like two kinds of fans. Some that were there for his pushback on religious conservatism, and some that came specifically for the anti-Islam, kind of what they perceive to be dog whistles. And now those specifically Islam people are upset that he isn't like even more right-wing and angry that he isn't like supportive of Trump. And the ones that came for the pushback against religious conservatism, I feel at least, are disappointed in him.
He wasn't my one of the favorite. Probably, you know, probably Hitchens was kind of more but that's only because he was writing about, you know, a lot of different topics, and he's especially in the 90s, mostly, you know, politics and you know, general, not just about religion. So that's why kind of more. But I mean, I've read his, like, you know, like mid 2000s when he was writing his couple books. Sam, I just, you know, read him, and and then kind of, you know, was listening his podcast. Like initially, you know, it started out kind of okay, you know, some obviously questionable points, but then it kind of, you know, deteriorated pretty fast. Kind of.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, the conversation with you, whatever it was, like 3-4 hours.
Yeah, I know, it was 3 hours long.
Yeah, and I started listening to it specifically, you know, because of points against Rubin and the Douglas Murray person.
Oh, I can't tell you how much hate I got for that, for daring to sort of gently even push back.
Yeah.
I still get hate mail and stuff calling me an immigrant parasite that, you know.
Jesus.
I mean, I think Sam is a pretty terrible person, but I think his friends are even worse.
You mean you don't like Ben Shapiro? Oh, come on.
So terrible.
This is supposed to be the Ben Shapiro fan club chat. What are you doing here?
Oops, I'm on the wrong one.
I wonder if, like, once you get this, like, you bring into yourself this identity of a famous intellectual, then, like, you get into a bubble because like you don't have to listen to the lay people anymore who are criticizing you.
Yeah.
And like, and all the like, I don't know. I think this is partially the media's fault, but like just labeling like the Shapiros and like giving platforms to the Milos, like gives the right more intellectual credibility that's unearned. And Sam's kind of caught up in that.
Yeah. Well, that seems to be like the trendy thing now, right? Bash the left, pretend like you're coming from the left and you're bashing the left. It's like a formula almost. And say you're worried about Western civilization, you're concerned about immigration, feminism has gone too far, Me Too has gone too far. See, I've got all these points down. I'm just waiting to make my alternate like YouTube channel where I can make the money to fund my other work.
Yeah. In that case, I'll drop my patronage.
So you guys don't think he's like kind of in that whole group of people, the IDW, whatever? It's not just a way for him to make even kind of more money, or is he like intellectually actually in like interested in talking to Shapiro and Peterson time and time again? Because it just it doesn't seem like it would be an interesting thing after like 15 minutes. It's like Peterson says like their first conversation was kind of their most honest, I think, when Sam like they couldn't even have a normal conversation because Peterson is just like, well, whatever people feel like, they can believe that, right? There's nothing kind of
there's no truth.
It's absurd. You can't have that conversation was like normal conversation after that, Yet
but he invited him back right after that. That was the first clue.
That was his fans begging him to do that, right? I mean, he saw the opportunity to ride on Jordan Peterson's coattails, and he took it.
Yeah,
and
but that's what's sad,
it worked out pretty well for him monetarily.
Yeah, but does he really need money? I don't know
that's the weird thing is, I think he's rich, so I don't know why he needs it.
I think it's the intoxication of fame and power.
Like fame.
Yeah. And Jordan Peterson is kind of creeping up on that territory and having threatening that level of culty fan base, right? It seems like he's really taken away from Sam in that. So maybe that he feels a bit threatened. I don't know.
I think someone like Rubin is probably mostly initially started doing it because of money. He just had Rubin. He realized he can have guests and say basically nothing because he's not really capable of making like solid point, right? He just nods has the Lawrence Southern just do some nonsense. He's like Richard Spencer is not so bad, and then he saw like how much money he was getting, right? But he never said anything of value except what. Free speech is important. Like that's the most amazing concept in 2017 that no one really thought of before. Whoa. Yeah. And at the same time, he's cheering for Trump to going after media and all this, which is actually probably in violation of the actual First Amendment because it's all about the part of the government going after and blocking media and. Trump actually blocks reporters on Twitter, right? That's
and I think that
that's a big thing, actually.
Yeah, and someone was suing him for that or something, right? If I remember correctly.
And they should,
But these are not the free speech conversations that these free speech warriors want to have. Strangely.
Oh, no.
I'm just so stoked that Rubin's off Twitter this week after Alex Jones got kicked off Facebook.
But that's what he always does, right? Did you notice that when the thing with Milo happened, he was also off the grid? And, I mean, when he might need to take a principled stance against something or say something which really shows where he stands, then he would rather not say it.
Yeah, and it was also, I think, after Trump said something about Cokes, and Dave was like, I'm going to...
Yeah, everyone thought that he might for once criticize Trump.
I can't pick my guy now, Coke pay me, and kind of Trump is most of my people, right?
Yeah.
Most of my base. So who am I... No, I'm going to the woods for a month.
What do you think, Michaela, about this whole IDW double standard free speech bullshit?
Oh, it's just... Oh, God. I mean, Jordan Peterson is hilarious, but also his followers are scary.
Yeah,
There's sort of this weird dichotomy because I want to laugh at him, but also I'm kind of scared with it where all of this is going. Because, you know, like Gamergate looking from the outside was just hilarious because it was so pointless. Like, for the people who were in it, like Anita Sarkeesian and everyone, it was scary, but like looking at it from the outside, it was kind of funny. And so, like, right now I'm also with Jordan Peterson. I'm looking at it from the outside and yeah, this is kind of funny, but you know, the Gamergators are now in the White House. So I don't know where all of this is going, and that's the kind of scary part.
Yeah,
and I want to laugh at lobsters, but you know.
Yeah, it's scary because he's from like my country and my city, and that really just hits close to home. So
yeah, you have a lot of crazy people there in Canada.
Yeah, we do.
Lauren Southern Canada and some other characters.
Molly New.
Yeah, he's Canadian. He's from Mississauga, I believe. That's like 20 minutes away from me. And there's also, I believe, Stephen Crowder. I believe he's Canadian.
I think I told you he's from Montreal.
Yeah, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole rebel media crap.
Yeah, unbelievable. We thought you were such nice people.
We are.
Down here in the States.
We are, I promise. It's the progressive nature, I think, that kind of gets these people to become so reactionary, right? And I see that from like progressive cities in the US too. Whenever I see like a hardcore, really unreasonably anti-SJW person, they're like from Portland or from LA, you know?
Yep.
And I guess they just feel pushed into a corner and they just lash out and become like this, you know?
Is that one lady from Rebel Media still running for, what was it, mayor of Toronto?
Oh, Faith Goldie, yes.
Oh, God, yeah, that's her name.
Yeah, the 14 words reciting, you know, and this would have been so funny, like, 10 years ago, like, oh, she doesn't have a chance in hell, but, like, the kinds of people that have won stuff, and it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are you still here, Fabio?
Yeah, I'm here.
What are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to me how, you know, I kind of come from a perspective where I kind of sympathized, I guess, when all this came up, you know. Like, I was a huge Sam Harris fan, you know, and so what really broke the deal with me, like when Trump got elected and you know, all stuff happened, and like I wasn't seeing, except for Sam Harris, but I wasn't seeing from this community of like skeptics that they weren't doing anything about Trump at all. Like obviously, you know, the right wing is on the rise, you know, and it's obvious to everyone looking at it, and they still were making excuses and just bashing the left and things like that, and it was just so weird to me, you know, because it was obvious. Like I was kind of like hopeful, I guess, in the beginning. I was like, oh yeah, let's criticize the left as well. You know, I'm very open about criticism. Let's criticize the left, you know. And then it turned into this, like, maybe it was always a shit show, and I was just a bit gullible, maybe, you know. But yeah, that's how I guess come to this. And I really like, you know, I followed your podcast for a long while, and I really like how you navigated the space, and I think you've been very, very clear on these topics, you know, and great, yeah.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, I guess I should ask everyone what they've enjoyed about Polite Conversations.
I really felt like you've had the most interesting guests and a really good diversity of them. Men, women, people from all over the world, really. And mostly lately, at least, have been pretty friendly conversations, but you know, you had a few heated ones in the past as well that were pretty interesting and, well, pretty entertaining. I mean, Tarek Fatah, that was a doozy.
Yeah,
but you know, I don't know. I've always found it so interesting, the kinds of territory that you cover in those conversations.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, and another thing is some. I guess podcasters, they have even people they don't agree with, they'll pick like subjects that are not very kind of, they don't have many differences, and then that will be it. Like, for example, like it was what's his name, Josh Zepps had Ben Shapiro, and he could have done much better.
Oh, yeah.
And just basically do it for an hour, because there's so much really garbage that Shapiro spews, right? And like I know, like you would have someone like what's his name, Robert Spencer. You had some Trump, some supporters, and you actually explored a lot of the actual areas of like disagreement. And many people like don't do that. Like, and you like initial, like one of the first ones was Sam. You question, and many people just don't, even if they would find kind of common ground a lot of the time, and that's kind of it's fine, but it's not challenging, I feel like, and you've done that a lot, so that's a good thing.
Great.
I'd like to echo I'd like to echo the first person who thought you navigated the space like correctly, because I listened to like a couple episodes maybe in 2016, and I'll be the SJW here. Like I winced a little bit, I was like, oh, like talking to Eli, I'm like, oh, this sounds like anti-SJW stuff.
Yeah, I have to say I've changed over the years too a bit. So
but it seems like in a different climate, when those conversations would be more necessary, I feel like I could have a good faith conversation and unironically disagree in the way like the IDW types would like say, oh, we need to talk to people we disagree with. I feel like talking in this type of space would be productive rather than defensive.
I appreciate that. I mean, my views have changed a lot, and also according to the climate, of course. I'm going to hold back on, if I have disagreements with the left, I'm not going to focus on just my disagreements with the left in a climate that's so hostile to the left when the far right is rising in power, right? So, I mean, I do still have disagreements with the left sometimes. I come across people on Twitter who are like, no, children should be free to wear the hijab. And I'm like, yeah, but... okay, well, so, but that's not going to be my focus right now, because I think things like the IDW talking points, the Me Too has gone too far, the Peterson stuff, the threats to, what is it? The left is the threat to Western civilization. Pronouns are what got Trump elected. That garbage needs my focus right now.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm going to just make a slightly different point. Like, for example, like I can't sometimes like not comment. Well, I don't really comment much on Twitter, or whatever, but like it cringes me when people like with some people like Greenwald.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Who just appear with like Laura Ingraham, who is for the most part be proved to be like a white probable supremacist.
Yeah.
Like, it used to be actually like 10 years ago, like conservative, whatever, like commentator, right? Now she's just insane, and she would appear or with Tucker Carlson, and they have this friendly conversation where they just shit talk about New York Times and Washington Post, and he's on Fox with some of the worst, and they're like, yeah, it's fine. Like that's just whatever he's doing. Point, if New York Times made a mistake about like one of their reporting about Trump, Russia, whatever. Okay, fine, but you're on a show that's just spewing so much nonsense, and you just adding, and Laura Ingraham would be, well, now this is the voice from the left, this is what they really think. Well, no, it's a Greenwald friends, right? And he does have a lot of following, and that's what kind of those kind of people should be pushed on some.
Yeah, for sure.
It's insane.
For sure. There's also that Michael Tracy guy who seems to be.
That guy too, yeah. I mean, that guy is horrible. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of Laura Ingraham,
I wanted to follow up with what Vladimir was saying, just to say that I think we have this funny niche community, sort of centered around you and a few other folks. That it's not far left. It's certainly progressive, but I'm a marketing person, so I always want to figure out, well, we need an IDW for this.
Oh, come on.
Do we though? I mean, do we?
No. I'm
we need a better name.
I like to play with the idea. I love the idea of, some
Bad marketing. Bad marketing.
Mango heads or whatever we are.
The intellectual dink mangoes.
I'm mostly joking.
No, I know. You have
it is interesting. It is interesting to witness. Like I remember a time, like not too long ago, where like it seemed like YouTube was dominated by just right wingers. Like at least it seemed like that. You only had the Sargon of Akkad and the skeptical community, basically, right? And now it kind of seemed to have turned a bit the tide. At least maybe that's just my personal perception, but like at least there's a lot of some creators that really push back against this, kind of like echo chamber, because it is, right? It's just like they talk, like, everyone talks about the same thing, like some event happens somewhere and everyone just picks it up and like, this is the next thing the SJWs did, right? And they all talk about the same thing. And no one really like pushed back against that. And now we kind of have like a small community.
Yeah, I think, people like H Bomber Guy and Sean and ContraPoints and others on Twitter cropping up, pushing back. It's good that we have that, but it's still like seems very unbalanced in the kinds of platforms. And like if I were to go tomorrow and say I'm an immigrant of Muslim background, and here I am to tell you that immigration is bad, here I am to tell you that the Muslims are bad, I would probably get bigger and bigger platforms every day, But not saying that stuff feels like you're walking uphill all the time. It's exhausting. You see some of the ex-Muslims that are just taken to Twitter to, I don't know, spread conspiracy theories about how Muslims are having babies to, instill Sharia and shit. Like,
oh my God.
Their platforms grow like they double, triple overnight. They get invited to places like Harvard, and they're saying shit like there are anti-racist Nazis out there. Don't generalize Nazis. Not all Nazis.
Not all Nazis. You can't make this stuff up. Oh my God.
I know.
David Pacman made a good point once when he said, like, I mean, I think the right wing's argument is just easier, right? Because it does in a way appeal to emotion. Like, it does appeal to like, it's us, and those people are different than us, and things like that. And then it's they don't see the nuance, right? It's harder to see the nuance in so much things, right? I mean, is there a problem with some very strict interpretations of Islam? Of course there is, right? And you know that, and you talk about that, right? But then, to have the nuance is like, these are also people, right? And they're not robots programmed by whatever holy book. Like, they're just people, right?
You read the Quran, and then the microchip is activated, and that's it.
Exactly. And some people seem to think like that, right? I mean, they throw around like taqiyya accusations, things like that, and it's actually harder to, see the nuance and see people as actual people, even if they're bad people, and even if problems exist as seeing the spectrum, and right wingers are not doing that, and it's easier to be like,
absolutely. Just look at how much nuance they have for like white supremacists and Nazis, right? They want to like split hairs between who's a Holocaust questioner and who's a Holocaust denier.
I prefer the term ethno-nationalist.
Yeah, I mean, talk about being PC and
right,
using their preferred not pronouns but their preferred identifications. This kind of backwards political correctness for Nazis is the worst.
To kiss Ina's ass a little more, I liked the how your Ramadan episode kind of addressed that, because when you described like the things that pissed you off about your family, it was less of a, like an Islamic takeover and more of closer to like when my aunt sends my family a group text that says, "Oh, God has given us a blessing today," or something like that. Like, that pisses me off, but like it's not
some evil plot to destroy Western civilization.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you saw it like that, because even though I was critical, that's what I wanted to do, is to humanize people that, so many in this skeptic, rational community think that are just always secretly plotting, and it's just, they're not that fucking organized even, Yeah, you should, yeah.
I think it should be easier for people. I know there are always going to be kind of groups of people. That's the comment is in relation to the IDW and stuff. But it seems like when people kind of organize into groups, then they pick kind of the most common, not enemy, but people they disagree with, right? And they sort of block anything that's even remotely. Like, it should be easy to basically criticize, let's say, action of just recently, in Tajikistan, ISIS just ran over a couple bicyclists. They were biking across the world. They went, hundreds of thousands of miles. And this group of people, they saw them as infidels, and they just took their car, just ran them over, and they stabbed them, right? But people who criticize that often will neglect some of the extremists on the far right that go to basically building and or see Sikh people on the street and think they're Muslims and beat them up. These people, they deserve to be in the same category.
Yeah.
Should be criticize
100%.
both groups.
Yep.
Yet it's just it should be easy, but for some reason, some people it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're I feel very stuck in the middle too, right? So I see people who are, so good at criticizing the Petersons and, the Sam Harrises and the Ben Shapiros and all of that. But when it comes to criticizing the Islamic far right, they become apologists. And it's like, but you're doing the same thing that you're criticizing Peterson fans for. And then on the other side, you see all these people that are really good at calling out the Islamic far right. I see among ex-Muslims, they're completely neutral on Peterson, or totally not shocked by his Salafist statements and calls for enforced monogamy and women to stay home and make babies, and it's so ridiculous. So there's this one Twitter account that, gets retweeted a lot, and I think she has a lot of Peterson clips that are great. But one time I just said something really mild about niqabs, and she called me alt-right. So it's such a frustrating place to be in.
Yeah.
Time to set up your YouTube channel.
Yeah, I know. If they call me alt-right, then I might as well become it, right?
Yeah, that's how it works.
Of course. So. You call someone a Nazi, and then poof, magic happens.
Just turns them right into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the recent extremely frustrating episodes of Sam Harris is when he talked to the Christian Picciolini, and you could see by the crowd and by his reactions, this is the guy basically who dedicated his life right now to fight, extremism. One form of extremism, specifically far right and Nazis and stuff. Yet there has been just weird reaction, and you can just the whole tone and everything of that conversation is so off.
Yeah,
and that's such a weird thing when you're talking about actual activists against extremism, right? It's just his crowd was confused often and Wait! Far right actually creates more danger than Islamists in the United States. These things are known. Yet for them will be it's and the whole Molyneux thing. He just decided to delete.
That was bad.
That was horrible. That's just he's free to talk about ISIS in all of his, not all of his episodes, but in most.
Yeah.
And here's a chance to kind of explore this area.
Or compare Vox journalists to KKK. I mean,
yeah, that was so fucking silly.
Or say Ta-Nehisi Coates cares about race as much as David Duke.
David Duke, right? Yeah.
It's
he's made some terrible comparisons over the years.
Yeah.
I think when he said that he would rather vote for Ben Carson than Noam Chomsky.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones that sticks in my craw.
Yeah, but why though? Right? He's not bright. He's
not dumb. I know. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think he's he's just he's been too much. He has gotten too much reinforcement, I guess, from his group now, and it's just like it's just his thing now, and he can't see himself outside of it. And I think what was really telling when he was talking with Ezra Klein, and he said like, you know, we said like he said something like you have your own bias or something like that, right? And he's like, no, I mean I don't have any bias here. Like, well, I don't know exactly if he said that, but something like this. And I was like, dude. You're my guy. You should know this, but yeah. No, it's really
you know how brains work.
He was engaging in identity politics, I think, is how.
Yeah, that was it. That was it.
He couldn't deal with it at all.
Yeah, and he was like, "Well, of course I'm not tribal. I would know if I was tribal."
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that was it.
Oh.
He's like, worse. That's what the baddies do, not me.
Yeah, exactly.
That was so frustrating. Yeah.
So I know that you guys have enjoyed like the sort of confrontational conversations that I've had, but there's another level of that where I get messages like where people don't like it if I'm not having a confrontational conversation, and that's just odd to me because, like, sure, they're interesting, but we can't only just have those, right? I'm happy to have those when I think someone is worth talking to or calling out on their bullshit, and I'm not going to be doing damage by giving them another space to talk. Then I feel confident enough to have them on, and like the whole that Google guy, James Damore, I would never have had him on. I wasn't interested, right? He was already getting so much airtime. Not that I'm a big fish or anything, but I just don't want to contribute to that, right?
Well, Thomas got him, so
yeah, he did. But yeah, so I get these emails like sometimes where I wish you would have more like confrontational conversations. And what do you guys think about that?
I think like as far as specific like the difference between you and some of the other ex-Muslims, I think that will be interesting to hear in a kind of public and, an hour, 2 hour long kind of, because there are actually, differences. And I feel like just kind of, have the little fights on Twitter, that's all fine. But if the conversation where all the, arguments will be in public kind of, forum and for 2 hours, and I'm sure there will be many kind of different topics.
Yeah, but it would be like me against all of them. You can just pick one. Like there are some of them are not naming names, but are very unreasonable. There's one specific one that also appeared on Rubin Report that I remember I made a couple comments. As far as I think she just accused you of not being too much oppressed in Saudi Arabia. Or something, not oppressed enough.
Like
that's
that.
Right.
And then she blocks instantly after 2 comments, basically. Like that's not someone who's probably willing to have a normal. But others are probably a little bit more tolerant. They'll be kind of maybe will listen to some of the points.
Well, we have that person who thinks I wasn't oppressed enough. That's not really a conversation that seems reasonable.
No, not.
Then there was the guy who thinks that circumcision is worse than the Holocaust.
No,
right?
We're gonna skip him.
There's no way you can have a reasonable conversation with that person.
That guy.
It's just going to be lunacy.
Oh my
God.
Is that the Armin Nawabi guy? Is that
Armin? Yeah. Oh.
He has so crazy opinion.
Who is there actually? Do you know any who are a little bit more moderate? I mean, I can't think of any.
If they are, they're still backing those people, though, right? So how do you?
Yeah, I know.
Have that
like
conversation?
Ali's pretty moderate, but I don't think he'd really want to talk to you at this point.
No, the thing is, right, I've had conversations with some of these people.
You had him on.
In the background, also in DMs, and tried to reason with people, and we're just...
Yeah.
It wasn't able to be resolved because they still wanted to stick by defending these types of people who think Judaism is worse than Nazism, or, circumcision is worse than the Holocaust. So
all those poor foreskins.
I mean, I'm not a fan of circumcision at all. don't get me wrong.
But it's not nearly as bad as Holocaust.
Obviously not.
Not quite, no.
I think just Farrah Shaw, who blogs for Pathos, she is progressive, but she has like grievances. Like that's the only person I can think of right now who's ex-Muslim.
But the thing also with ex-Muslim conversations is that people are either looking for some kind of showdown, right? And I don't want to be like a spectacle. Or people are looking for the whole, like, I feel very fetishized also as an ex-Muslim, right? Some people are just there to hear us make fun of Islam, and I'm happy to do that when it's in good faith company. Like, I'll laugh at a silly hadith just like any other ex-Muslim, but I'm not going to do it as a performance for, like, far-right audience saying, yeah. So those are
that's obviously It's just I feel like let's say if that idea of that guy about the Nazism and Christianity or Judaism or Islam, pick one basically. If it's gonna be exposed in the public sphere, I feel like to ask are you really serious? Because it's a joke. Ask anyone else. It's I remember you asked Pac-Man on your. It's not something serious anyone would entertain even. Some things are so ridiculous. It's like something on Infowars will be probably discussed.
Yeah, but this guy is getting so much popularity in the atheist scene. He's doing events with the Sam Harris event dude, right? So. Sam is praising the other person who also thinks who also makes all these stupid Nazi comments, right? She was doing a panel with someone. He's like, "Oh, this is so good," or something like that. And lots of people tweeted at him, but he doesn't respond to that. So it's like, as long as you're bashing their, perceived enemy of Islam or the left or whatever, they're willing to overlook these things. And so that doesn't seem like they're acting in good faith. That's like me saying, okay, so what if you're like an Islamist apologist? As long as you shit on Nazis, that's great.
Yeah.
But you're right. These people say some crazy stuff that should be worthy of Infowars, but here we have the top figures promoting them and empowering them and supporting them.
Yeah, even Majid would be having not debate but public event with some of that group, right?
Yeah, and I tweeted at him, and 50 others tweeted at him. Majid, who responds to everything that is critical about him, but now he's blocked me, called me some far left Bolshevik, and blocked me.
That was funny, though, I have to say. Thinking of you as a Bolshevik is just kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Majid is another person that I used to have so much respect for.
Same.
And this is
same.
So crazy. I mean, I don't know. I would have never thought this 2 years ago or something. I read his book and I was like, wow, this is so good. And now this is, I don't know. I don't even know how I felt.
His mind?
Yeah. I know. He kind of had those things, they were always kind of in the background, I feel like now. Now when I critically look back at how, at some things he wrote also in his book and everything, I think that there was something already there, and I was just maybe a bit gullible.
Yeah. And I mean, it seems like there's this infectious Rubenism just spreading throughout that scene, right? They all are following that same path.
Yeah. Whoever Ruben touches, they just become worse very fast.
How could someone so stupid and mediocre be so influential? Then again, Trump's president, so
right. When
didn't surprise any of us.
When you're willing to sell out and you don't really have principles and ideas of your own, then you can be a good vessel for people to take advantage of.
Wow.
That Coke money, though.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Michaela, are you still with us?
Oh, yes, I am.
Oh, okay. How's it going? What are you thinking? Were you ever a fan of Sam or Majid or never?
Not really. Like the only atheist scene I was sort of a part of was like in London in 2012. I went to a couple of like, what was it called? Skeptics in the pub.
Yeah.
But I sort of fell away from that, and like sort of checking back in 5 years later, it seems everyone's turned into a Nazi.
Yeah, I know. It used to seem so innocent, right? Just promoting secularism and freedom from religion. What could go wrong? A lot, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a shame because I come from a background. I used to be a Jehovah's Witness, and like this whole new atheist scene really helped me out. With that phase, right? Like with debunking the more stupid literalist claims, things like that, right? Being more open about like atheism is not something immoral, something like that, right?
Yeah.
They really helped me out. That's why I was such a fan of these figures, you know.
Yeah.
And but I always tie this into my progressive stance too, like, you know, I want to be like, at least and then at some point, you know, it wasn't just progressive anymore. It was just reactionary bullshit, you know. It's really sad to see that devolved into this. It's not an empowering movement anymore that actually, you know, provides something. It's just reactionary at this point.
Yeah.
But in general, the whole idea of basically being an activist against religion, it's not really that deep as an idea, right? Because it's yes, you'll have people who never, you know, question that stuff, kind of, but there's nothing to like doing it year after year. Like there's nothing to kind of deep explore, right? It's a very kind of simple problem. The people are born often in very religious families, and they just never question, you know. But once in a while, some of them will question. They'll be like, "Yeah, that's silly," and they'll just go away. But to kind of make it your own, you know, and I feel like that's why it's kind of evolved into something. People needed something kind of maybe more, and it went really off the rails in a way, you know. Many people in the movement specifically. Yeah.
You see the accounts that have stuck to tweeting the generic atheist stuff, and it just is so cringeworthy to me now. And I'm like, how do you still engage in this?
Like it used to be like 10 years ago. You're like, wow, that's genius. And now you're like, what the hell? You know?
Yeah. It's like, you know, the whole grown-ups don't believe in Santa Claus. I don't know. I cringe whenever I see
that stuff, no. But, you know, there's a few good lefty atheists, like Atheist Pig and those kinds of people.
Oh, yeah. That's sure. But he's not always tweeting about generic atheist memes, right?
Not always owning religion.
Exactly. It just seems so juvenile.
It really is.
I think I heard an interview with Atheist Pig once, and like he talked about every time he made a comic that wasn't like atheism proper, he just got like a ton of hate mail, and he's like, there's no way I can like make an interesting or funny comic about non-belief day after or however often he updates. I don't know how often he does, but like there's a lot to that, you know.
Yeah. No, he's cool. I like him, and he doesn't.
He's anti-Peterson.
Yeah, it's always a good sign, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, I just remember when I didn't even know much about Peterson, but I just got such a bad vibe from him. It was, you could just tell.
I still remember that time. That first time I saw him was his crying video. And this must be at least like 2 years ago, right?
Message.
I'd never heard of it. It was his New Year's Eve message, like the world was falling apart for him, or whatever. And it was so meandering, and he didn't really say anything. And I said, I think I tweeted to you, I was like, it wasn't that bad, right? Like, he didn't really say anything offensive in it. And I was like, he seems okay. He seems like a sad kind of guy. And
he was crying about the loss of faith.
I hope nobody moved his coat.
He's terrible. and you know, every other time I've seen him since, he's been horrific. So
that's the thing, right?
You were right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you asked me once about Gadsad too, right?
I did, and that was like my turning point where I was like, I'm done with these people. I was like, do you think Gadsad's a bigot? And you would like laugh your ass off.
I'm happy I've never gotten into Gadsad because this guy is
good for you.
Oh my goodness! I was just seeing what kind of stuff he writes. This guy's so self-important. He's so.
And he wasn't included in the IDW piece. He was so upset about that.
Oh, that was awesome.
That's one of the most hilarious things that happened recently, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to say, like, with all the criticism that we have for atheists, and I think rightfully so with everything it turned in, I do want to, like, emphasize that I think that, like, a strong secular humanist community is, like, super important, because there's so many people who are, like, you know, caught into religious fundamentalism. And I have this ex-Muslim friend. I'm from Germany, by the way. And she's Turkish, and her parents are super religious, and she follows you, and she, you know, takes a lot of inspiration from you too, you know. And I think, like, there needs to be some place where people who are, you know, leaving religion can come to, you know, and have this kind of experience and heal together, maybe, and things like that. And so far, it's just this crazy bullshit right-wing reactionary movement, and
where you'll get co-opted, your struggle will get co-opted, and then, you know, it's going to be talk about deporting people like your family, so you don't really want to land there.
That's
but I hope that, you know, people like that listen can see that there are a few of us out there that won't do that with your struggle, and that will welcome you. I do think a humanist movement is important, but definitely one that understands what humanism is, not like a anti-immigrant humanism. You know what I mean?
Yeah. One of the shows that people can call and, like, chat is the Atheist Experience, where, like, most of the people there, they'll have a very nice, you know, if someone religious calls and, like, mocks, sometimes they won't, but in general they'll you know, they ask questions, they'll explore stuff.
Is this the Seth Andrews thing?
No, I think that's Matt Dillahunty.
It's a Matt Dillahunty and Tristan like Harris and Jen, some other people. They have a lot of, probably maybe around like 10 people. They vary, and they just basically they ask religious people. It's based on Texas, which is, you know, very very religious state, and people just call and they're polite with them. They'll, you know, explain stuff, and yeah, sometimes it gets kind of nasty, but not from, like, you know, really kind of, we're gonna throw this horrible meme at you, you're religious, you know, stupid kind of, you know. But people, it's so there is kind of, you know, honest thing. And I also kind of, like, sometimes I when I drive, I see one of those, like, really evangelical you know, like, billboards, like, you
I've seen
like,
those driving in the U.S. Like, we don't really have those here.
Do you know where you're going? Like, do you know, like, call, like, are you going to hell? Or, like, those people that I remember, like, once in a while I would call and I would spend, like, an hour or two just, you know, normal conversation. I think that could be useful, because what they're doing is just really, really horrible. Like, that's, you know, to threaten, basically. Imagine, like, you know, a bunch of family with kids driving, and they see, you know, are you going to hell? You know, are you going to burn? Like, that's crazy, right? I mean, those people should be kind of challenged in a good way, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. If only we had more responsible leaders challenging them. Now they seem to be, like, pandering to some of them. It's like, hey, if you hate the left, that's cool. We can join hands on that.
There's a secular women's conference, Secular Women Work, and I think Stephanie Zavan is a big part of that, and I think she's been really good. She was responsible for implementing, like, harassment policies at, like, atheist conferences. So, like, things like that, like, just really important things that you normally wouldn't think of. I think people like her are on the front lines. It's just that they're not in it for the grift. They're in it for, like, for actually, like, putting work in.
Right, and so that's why they don't get the attention that they deserve, or they don't get the platforms, they don't get the, you know, book deals and the articles. It's unfortunate.
Though some other people who do seem to be in on the grift accused her of just, you know, stirring shit to get fans. So there you go. You can't get rid of it.
Yeah, I get that accusation too every time I criticize, head coverings or something. I'm accused of something, like I'm trying to pander to my right-wing audience. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I spend like 95% of my time trying to make clear that even when I'm talking about veils and things like that, I don't want to be co-opted by conservatives and right-wingers who hate Muslims. Like, I'm trying to do this with nuance and care. And yeah, one thing I want to do is do a couple of sort of generic topic podcasts where it's just me speaking, and maybe cover the face veil and the headscarf generally again, and all the nuances that I can think to cover, even though nothing I say will be good enough because I'll get attacked. But it is something I'd like to cover again. And maybe other things that I hear a lot of misunderstandings about, like cultural appropriation. Do you think you guys would enjoy things like that?
Sure. I would love that. Especially like a critique of the... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go on, Michaela.
Oh, sorry. No, just like a sort of a critique of face veils from a leftist critique, sort of.
Yeah.
Because like there's constantly like people about like banning face veils and all that stuff, and I honestly don't know how I feel about it, because like I don't like them.
Yeah.
But also the idea of banning women from wearing something that they choose to wear just sits wrong with me, and like I would love an episode on that.
Okay, great. Yeah. I mean, I don't agree with total bans either. That never sits right with me. But I just think that there are certain places where people try to push it. Like, we had a woman who argued to wear it in court, and she won against the federal government. And I thought that was silly, because no, like in court, you should be required to at least show your face. People need to know who you are. Right? So some things I think are not unreasonable, like airport, passport pictures, courtrooms. But yeah, obviously an entire ban from public places seems counterproductive to me.
Yeah.
So I have to go, but I fully support those topics. And
awesome.
Thank you so much for hosting us.
Cool. It was really nice chatting.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's so great to do this.
Thank you all for supporting the show. I'm going to have to go soon too, but if anyone has any last thoughts they'd like to wrap up with.
Thanks for letting me hear my own voice a little more. So that was fun.
I think that's just a comment, I guess, from just a conversation right now. It's just, I think you should do whatever you feel, because in the end, I just appreciate your opinion in that sense. And if you think you have to do this, and you think you have to, have a conversation like this, I think you should do it. And I don't think you should look too much into what people expect from you in that sense.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah, I try not to. I mean, otherwise I would be doing the popular conversations, right? Ha ha ha, look at this ridiculous verse from the Quran. Ha ha ha, it's so terrible.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
One thing I would add is basically, like, we should all try to, whenever we get a chance, just fight the general misinformation that's coming. And it's not just sometimes from the people we don't like. It's if someone we see someone on ideological kind of same side, basically maybe push for conspiracy theory or something. That has to be, people has to like if it's like a, even if it's someone against you don't like, some people may not like, for example, like Hillary Clinton, right? But if you see people like pushing a lot of like conspiracy garbage, on many sides, that people has to like spend, a few minutes just explain, like just mention, what, we'll live in in a time where anything factual often gets attacked from some of the highest people in the office. And it's just really frustrating sometimes, to see, people just like, we don't like that person, but like, let's just, pile on him. It's just dangerous, like people should be more, really double check and being honest, and even against the people we and don't like.
Consistent, right?
Yeah, basically,
and
intellectually honest.
People listen more to the in-group too. So right, so if you have someone on the left and he talks bullshit, like, hey, listen, I understand what you mean, I understand where you're coming from, and they'll listen to you more. And it's actually also very important, like, we don't have to go into all of this discussion, but the discussion about white privilege and things like that. And that's why important as a as a white person, you're much more able to talk to another white person. Like, hey, don't do that shit.
I've seen that many times in the atheist scene. Like, nothing will, quote unquote, trigger like the phrase white privilege. These people who talk about others being snowflakes, just say something like that, or say something like diversity. Fuck.
It's ridiculous. They have like a whole outrage infrastructure, and then they accuse us of being like snowflakes, right? Like every little thing that happens, it gets dragged down everywhere, and they're so outraged for everything, right? And they call leftists snowflakes, and it's silly,
There's so many double standards.
No.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, it was wonderful chatting with everyone. It was really...
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Thanks for supporting
your
the
stuff.
show.
Yep.
Take care, guys. Maybe we can do this
Thanks for
again
listening
sometime.
to another episode of
All right,
Polite
take care.
Conversations.
Bye.
You can
Okay,
support
bye.
this podcast by sharing the shit out of it, making some noise about it, or contributing via Patreon. Patreon.com/Nice Mangoes. No E in mangoes. Also, you can follow me on Twitter @Nice Mangoes. If you want to make a one-time donation instead of a monthly Patreon one, you can do so via PayPal. nicemangoes.blog@gmail.com. Remember, no E in mangoes. If you've got an interesting story and would potentially like to be a guest, you can email me there too. A special thanks to Dylan Beck for theme music, sound, and production help.